Hi, I'm Joseph Noor. I'm a medical doctor and a biochemist, and I'm the author of Document X, Direct Evidence of God's Existence. Did God's prophets perform supernatural acts, what we call miracles? Did Moses, the prophet Moses, did he split the sea? Was Jesus born without a father? Now, these are important questions for two primary reasons. One, there's a great deal of misconception about the subject, even among scholars. Second reason is the correct answer to this question determines the true message of the Quran. So what I'll do is I'll examine the nature of reality, how we as ordinary human beings perceive the universe. Then I'll look at how science describes the universe, and then at the Quranic perspective of the universe, and then the Quran's response as to whether the prophets perform miracles. Now, our understanding of the universe, the type of universe that we live in, the nature of our universe, how we've come to know it, is based on many years of study and observations. And one of the striking features of our universe is that there is a harmony and order, where things change, but according to specific patterns. You find, for example, the planets, they move in their orbits in obedience to strict physical laws. You find that heat flows away from the source and never towards the source. And this is based on the second law of thermodynamics. Then there are the patterns of regularity observed in the natural world. The coming up and the setting of the sun, the rise and fall of tides, the various phases of the lunar cycle. In addition, our universe is extraordinarily beautiful and mysterious. Observe the beautiful colors of the rainbow, the majestic mountains, the flickering lights in the sky. Moreover, our universe is understandable. Our minds have evolved so that the universe has become amenable to human understanding. It has a built-in rationality. So what lies at the heart of the order, the harmony, the beauty, and the rationality of the universe is a set of principles which we call the laws of nature, and they have been around since the beginning of time. And it's these laws that make the universe intelligible and predictable, and allowing us to figure out things and do science, which is the foundation of human civilization. Understanding these laws is crucial to my argument. So let's spend a moment. A law is a descriptive principle in nature that holds true under all conditions stipulated by the law. It's a fundamental rule of nature that certain things will always happen under certain conditions. And there's no loopholes in this law. Let me give you two examples of the laws of nature. By the way, they are called laws because they are unchangeable. What is the point of introducing laws if they can change? The first example of the laws of nature is the universal law of gravity, which we are all familiar with. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the mathematics of the law, but this gives you a general understanding of the law that all things, all forms of matter exert a kind of a gravitational attraction force, except photons. The Earth, for example, produces enough gravity to hold things, to glue things to its surface. That's why things always fall downwards towards the Earth and never away from the Earth. And in the world of electricity, you find that like charges always repel, and unlike charges, they attract each other. An integral aspect of the laws of nature is the constants of nature. Now, these can be accurately determined. An example of the constants of nature are the mass of the electron, the speed of light, the values of the forces of nature. And it is these, what we call fundamental constants of nature, that determine the nature of a thing. Why water flows at a particular temperature, why fire burns, and so on. For the laws to be operative, the subject matter it acts upon, its nature must be fixed. In other words, you cannot change the nature of things. Say, for example, you could change the nature of water. You can reduce its mass. This would then disrupt the forces of gravity acting upon such modified water, and the water of the earth might gush away into space. So therefore, to produce a workable system, both the laws of nature and the subject matter, or the nature of the subject matter on which these laws act, must be unchangeable. So everything in the universe, from the tiniest of particles to the mightiest of galaxies, is subject to these laws. A galaxy or an electron cannot be defined as such unless it is subservient to these laws. The structure and the function of the universe depends on the relentless operation of these laws. They cannot be relaxed for a moment. Can you imagine the sun losing its gravitational grip on the earth for a second? The earth would simply fly into space with disastrous cosmic consequences. So these laws, therefore, are essential for a functional universe. Let's look at the laws of nature from a Quranic perspective. In the Quran, the laws of nature are described as the Sunnat Allah, the practices of Allah, the ways of Allah, the divine system. Now, a crucial feature of these laws, according to the Quran, is that they are unchangeable. And this is forcefully expressed in chapter 35:43, where it says, "Thou wilt find no alteration in the working of the divine laws." Then the author of the Quran repeats himself, "Yes, thou wilt find no change in the working of the laws of God." The same principle is expressed in 18:27, 30 verse 30, and in other verses. So, some people accuse me of imposing limits on God, that they say God is all-powerful and he can do as he pleases, so he can change his laws. Now, the question is not God's power. God is all-powerful, I agree with that. The question is, does God resort to changing his laws? And if you observe the universe, your answer has to be no. And, this objection becomes even more absurd if you consider the moral laws of God. Can God change his moral laws? Can you imagine God declares from now onwards honesty, compassion, kindness is a moral evil, and that adultery, falsehood, dishonesty is a virtue? Can God do that? Can he change his moral laws if he's all-powerful? Yes. The question is, does he? And obviously, it's a no. So this objection is without foundation. The second verse, which is linked with this first verse I just quoted, is in 31 verse 20, where Allah says, "He has subjected whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth." Now things can only be subservient if they have a fixed nature and they obey laws. Remember I spoke earlier about changing the nature of water, which would disrupt the laws of gravity. Now what this law implies is that the laws are universal. Otherwise, they cannot be said to be subservient throughout the universe. The universe is also comprehensible. It allows us to do science, which is essential for our survival. Now, it is God that made the universe comprehensible. And this is symbolically expressed in chapter 2, verse 34, where God commanded the forces of nature to bow down before Adam. Now, Adam represents man. So, in other words, God gave us the power to control the forces of nature so that they can be used for the benefit of man. 55 verse 5 states that the sun and the moon and all other celestial bodies, of course, they move according to definite calculations. In other words, the verse expresses the mathematical nature of the laws of nature. We see, therefore, that the Quran describes the key features of the laws of nature. They are unchangeable, they are universal, they have a mathematical basis, and they are rational. The signal is loud and clear. These forces were written in the very foundation of the universe, in the cosmic DNA, if you will. They lie at the heart of the harmony, the order, the beauty, and the rationality of the universe, and is essential for a functional, smoothly operating universe. Now let us look at how the Quran describes the universe. The Quranic perspective is very similar to how science views the universe. And the Quran describes the universe as highly structured, highly organized, and ordered. You find, according to the Quran, that the universe wasn't a cosmic accident. And this is clearly stated in chapter 51:47, where it says that with power, skill, and energy did we lay the foundation of the universe according to specified conditions, and certainly we are steadily expanding it. We see in this verse that the foundation of the universe was laid on energy, and the construction of this universe necessitated the input of divine energy and power. And then it says it was built according to specified conditions. In other words, the universe was intelligently designed, built according to specified conditions. And we mentioned these conditions before, the fundamental constants of nature, such as the expansion rate, the magnitude of the energy input of the universe, in other words, the oomph of the Big Bang, the values of the forces of nature. These were determined by God. If we refer to chapter 20, verse 50, when Pharaoh asked Moses, "Who is your God?" Moses replied, "My God is he who gives unto everything that exists its true nature." And since the nature is determined by the fundamental constants of nature, it is a question of divine choice. And this is augmented in another verse, 54:49, where God says, "And certainly we have created everything in due measure, in due proportion." So every value assigned to a particular event in the creation of the universe was a godly act. This statement that the construction of the universe needed divine energy and divine input is not without foundation. It's supported by the next part of the verse, which says, "And certainly we are steadily expanding the universe." For centuries people believe in a static universe. Here the Quran describes a dynamic, evolving, expanding universe. Now if this expansion of the universe was verified in unbelievable 14 centuries after its announcement, then it becomes conceivable that the claim of the Quran that it required divine energy and divine power and skill should be verifiable in the future. Now in 67, the Quran states, "Thou wilt find no inconsistency in the creation of the Beneficent. Then look again, can thou see any flaw?" So the Quran invites examination of the universe. It challenges mankind to find any flaw in the design of the universe. And this verse is complemented by another one where it says, "If there were other gods besides God in the heavens and the earth, both would have been in disorder and both would have fallen into ruin." Now, the Quran wants us to imagine a number of gods. Each would have tried to oppose the other. Can you imagine God A, for example, assigning a different value to gravity, God B having another value, God C having a different version of an electron? Now such a universe would have descended into disorder, and quite rightly, as the Quran said, would have been destroyed. And the central theme that runs through the Quran is the unity of the Creator, which is reflected in the unity of creation. Now, the Quran speaks about this unity in several verses. In 21:30 it speaks about the unitary origin of the universe, and in the same verse about the unitary origin of all life forms from water. And in 6:38 it tells us that in all creatures have a similar design. So we see, therefore, the deeper we probe nature, the simpler it becomes. That simplicity lies at the heart of the complexity of the universe. And this is meant to stress that a single transcendental mind is ruling the universe.